Okay, so moving back to the top of the landing page, what I'd like to do now is just to walk you through the climate mapping tool. So the climate mapping tool is where we provide end users with access to the climate information services data products. I'm particularly focused on the future climate projections around temperature and rainfall. One thing to note is that this landing page is intended to be publicly accessible, whereas some of the more advanced features, such as the climate mapping tool, may be restricted in terms of access. So you'll see as I go into the climate mapping tool, there's a disclaimer. And once accepted, as you go into the application, you can see this is a more technical but more capable end user application where users can actually go through, zoom in, pan around Vanuatu to actually really interrogate the climate information data that's been provided through the VanKIRAP project. What we're actually looking at right now is a visualization of average temperature. So you'll see that the light blue areas and light yellow are the lower temperature from an average temperature perspective, and then the dark orange and red areas are the higher temperature areas. So just walking through this particular application, a couple of things to note. We have the ability to look at different climate variables, whether it's average, maximum, minimum temperature, or whether it's looking at rainfall distribution. We also then have the ability to look at data based on a season, based on annual, also based on a specific month. So providing really rich and quite accurate and detailed information around future climate projections. We also have the ability here to customize whether we're looking at low change or high change in terms of the climate model, or low emissions or high emissions based on the actual emission scenario, as well as forecasting out to a particular time period. So quite a few moving parts, and this is why it's a more advanced feature, so restricted in access, but the ability to then select those different variables and see what the difference may be in those particular climate variables across Vanuatu. There is full coverage across Vanuatu, and as you can see, you can scroll, zoom, pan around, and actually use a very intuitive, high-performing map to basically really get an idea of the variability of some of these climate information services. One thing we've also focused on doing here is providing information that helps with the interpretation of the data. So here you can see when you click on projections, you get detailed information around what the options are and how to interpret the results of the different emission pathways and different climate models being used. Another thing that we've focused on for this particular climate information services application is the concept of local change. And this is really trying to answer the question of, well, what does the future climate look like for my particular area? Which was a use case that came through from the VMGD that we really wanted to tailor. Whereas previously the VMGD would have to go back to a lot of documentation and books to help describe what the future climate looked like. This is a really easy way to go through, scroll down to the particular council area in Vanuatu that's of interest, as you can see the long list here. And when you select one of those, the map then zooms in, highlights to just that particular council area, and will then give you the actual summary kind of low change and high change parameters for that particular area. So for this particular council area of Eaton, as you can see there, you've got a 0.4 degree low change, low emission change, up to a 3.9 degrees under a high change, high emission scenario. You've also then got the difference in rainfall ranging from -3 millimetres on an annual basis all the way up to 39 millimetres increase. And then we've also broken down each month what it would look like from a low change, low emission approach, which is the purple, right through to the high change, high emission. So straight away, people can get an understanding of exactly what their local future climate will look like. So that's the intention of this particular application. Overall, downscaled information, high resolution self-service, but then really localising the climate information services across Vanuatu.